Welcome to Sorceress Crafts channel. I'm the Sorceress or Spigana, and today we're gonna have a very special guest. Thank you, love.
Hello. Oh, hi.
Those two were not invited.
Hey, I'm Rogue, or Elsa. Please don't spill that. And I'm here. And I have some things that you have brought. You wanna tell them?
I wanna get that out of them.
Fair enough.
Thank you. We are celebrating this channel reaching 20k subscribers, which is absolutely wild to think about. Thank you for being here. I still need some time to process that, and I've been processing it for quite a while. We reached 20k almost a month ago, and I asked you to send in your assumptions about me, or us, or her, or whatever is going on here. And we're finally ready to... We are finally ready to do that. Rogue has chosen... Rogue has gone through your assumptions, picked them out, and I'm gonna react to them.
Yeah, so I have them all here. So that's what I'm doing. There are some larger topics. I won't be reading all of them.
Oh, before we start, if you have any questions about what we're wearing, all of that information, as per usual, will be in the description.
We are wearing the Sorceress, mostly.
Well, mostly. I hope you grab a nice drink. We are having some very nice crafts beverages.
Cheers.
Local.
To 20 more.
Oof.
Tell your friends, tell your family. First little section is decorations. People keep assuming how you decorate things. For example, you seem like someone that fills their house full of decorations. Half of it is what you made yourself.
That is mostly true. I don't think that half of it is what I've made myself, but I'm definitely in process of doing that.
I've made the other half.
That is true. But there are also things like this where we will buy something and then we'll put some... Oh, and by the way, before you start panicking, those are not real candles. Those are LED lights.
I assume that you sit curled up in a big comfy chair and knit. Across the room is another set of needles floating in the air and making all of the sleeves for you. Unicorn, unicorn, unicorn emoji.
That's one way how to solve Sleeve Island.
Other thing about cooking. I assume you both... I think that's us. I assume you both love to enjoy life to its fullest and have fought to get where you are. And for some weird reason, I assume you are not the cook in the house. That you mainly do the baking and I do the cooking.
No, actually no, it's the opposite. She makes really good bread.
I try.
That one time with the salt.
Bread is hard, you guys.
Teaspoons and tablespoons are also hard. It's okay, honey. I mostly cook, and by the way, our chores are split in the way that I cook all of the time and you clean all of the time, and then other chores are split where we need to go. So yeah, no, weirdly enough, no, that was not. The comment started with that we have fought pretty hard to get where we are. That part is true for both of us.
Yeah. I guess you're not hiding it that well. Right. All of the comments have several assumptions in them. I'm just going to read through them. We'll see where it goes. We'll see what editing does with this.
Editing Sorceress will have some words with us.
Maybe she will rope
Hi, honey.
me into doing it.
I love you too, honey. I love you too.
Either way, next assumption. I assume you like thunderstorms and would enjoy having ravens or crows bringing you presents.
Oh my, that would be... also, but who wouldn't? But that would be so delightful. These creatures are nice and delightful, but ravens... Also, ravens would bring you the best presents.
They would. But also, didn't one of them already do that?
Oh, yeah, so they sometimes do. They sometimes leave bones in our yard. And then we collect them and clean them, and then we decorate our house.
Is a bone-made decoration a self-made decoration?
Well, you cleaned them?
Yes, and I collect them. It's foraged.
Yeah, fair. Like, we use foraged materials for decorations too.
There. Great. There are a lot of comments about you being smart and you being a good friend.
Oh.
I don't think I will go through all of them. That's a very popular assumption about you. But this one is longer, so I will read that one. I assume you are very secure in yourself and your relationship. You have a group of well-known friends that you feel is enough, not looking for new friends actively, but kind if someone makes contact themselves. I also assume you and Rogue make the most amazing D&D partners, and that you play a very good game using all skills and spells, both in battle and outside, and I assume you enjoy a good fantasy book, both the classics and more modern, more heartwarming sorts.
That is a very, very sweet assumption. But I think it's also mostly true. Like, we have a very established friend group.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we're not actively looking for new people because we feel very good in the place, in the life that we are currently. But also we are just extremely tired. So our social battery, sadly, currently is like...
Remember that previous comment about working hard to get where you are?
That took some massive burnouts to get here.
But we're here. Hey!
About the D&D, yeah, I think, first of all, we really play really well together. That is absolutely true. As a DM, she's amazing. Like, I wish everybody could experience an amazing DM like that. But we also sometimes play together as characters. Our characters are dating.
Because of course they are. To be fair, like a big part of our relationship started out by playing together.
Yeah, basically because of the D&D.
Yeah.
That's how we bonded more and more. And the first time when I started really noticing that, like, she might have a thing for me, it was like we were kind of role-playing a D&D situation, but there were just two of us. And basically, she sent me in the biggest gay panic of my life. I didn't know how to get out of it. And I think the only way how I could play it out, and like, I just didn't know what to do. So I think I said that my wild magic sorcerer has had like a wild magic surge and is suddenly like flaring up in rainbow colors. And that's basically how I got out of that situation.
And me being me, didn't get it.
I explained it to her like about a year later.
Yeah, well, she's the wise one. I'm here for the looks. Speaking of being wise, next assumption is that you were good at maths and science in school, just because you seem to have a knack for understanding the structure of knitting, the geometry of how all the loops go together.
Math was absolutely my favorite subject in the school. For a very long time, I thought that for higher education, I'll go into math. That didn't work out. But yeah, I've always had very easy time with math. And I have very easy time understanding the ins and outs of knitting. And I have super easy time visualizing in my head in like almost like a 3D model that I can like rotate in my head around, right, like how the stitches are behaving. So I can imagine in my head how the knitting looks, and that really helps me to make the tutorials too.
So what you're trying to say is that you don't need a physicist to come and explain to you how knitting works?
I could explain a thing or two to them.
Several. Right. Next up, my assumption is that you lived abroad, decided it was not for you, and you wanted to live in the countryside. You speak 4 languages and love math and science.
None of us have lived abroad. You also haven't, right?
Not really. I was on exchange, like a school thing for like, I don't know, a month or something. Then I'm not sure if that counts.
At the time when we were teenagers, it was really, really popular that if you want a good education, you need to go study abroad. It was really believed that like locally you can't get good education, which wasn't true even then, but I kind of see why that stereotype came up. My grandfather was like really adamant that I should go study abroad and then come back. And even then, I always knew that I don't want to do that. That is not for me. I will be depressed as hell. I will not survive that. So I decided that I'll stay here. I'll do with my life, like, I'll figure it out eventually. Eventually, I did. So no, I have actually never lived abroad. I don't really speak 4 languages. I'd say I'm fluent in 2. I can get by in 3rd, and I can very mildly understand the 4th. But also, that is just such a typical European thing that I don't even think about it.
Yeah, unless you come from like a native English-speaking country.
Yeah,
I feel like that's
especially our age. If you live in any country where the native language isn't English, I always automatically assume that you speak at least 2 languages. That's like almost the minimum.
Hey, people, you're a folk. How many languages do you speak?
We are queer European women with geeky interests.
It will kind of force you into it.
Yeah. It mainly forces you into English. You can't get by without English.
Okay, next up. My assumption is that you screamed a happy scream and made it a little dance when you first saw Meredith from Brave.
Oh, I thought that comment is going very differently. I did. I've always loved that movie. But you are the first person who has ever compared me to Meredith.
That's crazy. I also loved it, right? I'm gonna say that I had a little crush on an underage cartoon character. But
is she underage? She's mildly.
She's of age for the time period.
Okay.
Which means that for us, she's very underage.
Fair. Okay.
Then again, I also saw it first. I don't think I was.
I think we were, especially you, would have been kind of around the Meredith age when it.
Oh yeah, no, then I absolutely.
She has a type.
Where did you think it was going? Thought it was going. Where going? Where your brain going? That one.
Well, I sit in the same room with you with some nice lights, and we're talking about happy screaming.
I guess we'll cut that one.
We'll see about that.
If you want to see more, check out.
We haven't made that yet.
Anyway, next up are several assumptions about your personality. I assume you are the more outgoing person. You express yourself freely, live life to the fullest, and when you love someone, it's with your whole heart and no boundaries. And Rogue is very quiet and somewhat shy, not able to express themselves very well, but is a person who loves with them.
I would assume that it follows like with the depths.
Probably.
Like...
I think it was I think I mildly remember the comment. It was basically, point is, you're the outgoing, confident one, and I'm the shy.
Careful with the mic.
Right.
I don't know. I think we both switch kind of around. We can both be like very out there, but then I think that when we are really going out there, you are way louder than I can ever be. I'm more reserved in that way.
Yeah, you might have a bit of an issue leveling our audios. I'm definitely more expressive, and you're more reserved in how we present ourselves.
Yes, and I usually need more time to warm up and feel at ease.
And I forcefully warm up the situation, one way or another.
But then other times, I think It's true in the sense that we like to like just huddle down in our little caves and not go out and just stay there.
A lot of the comments are also including congratulations to you and well done, and everyone's really enjoying your things. I'm skipping
Thank
those
you.
because then that would be the most of what I'm reading.
I had a thought about what it's like to celebrate milestones like that.
Right.
And you know, when you are a creator, you very often watch like content from coaches who are telling you how to make your content better and like stuff like that. And the first thing you always hear is that subscriber count doesn't matter. So it mildly feels weird to celebrate that. But the more I process that, the more I realize that like it doesn't matter from the point of algorithm,
Yes.
but it does matter from the point of humans, that there are 20,000 humans who found this content interesting or useful enough to subscribe.
Yeah. That's
So I think that is
crazy.
meaningful.
Yeah, and for yourself as well as a creator, like you can't, of course, we live in the time where it's important to, appease the algorithm, right? It's just the reality of life. But you're still human, and you still need to celebrate your successes, celebrate your milestones, just like in any other work that you would be doing, right? You finish a garment, like it's normal to celebrate that you finished a garment or whatever else. Or like, I don't know, if you work in an office, maybe you launched a project, like you would celebrate that you launched the project, even though like in there's no algorithm there. It's there's still,
And as humans, we have to choose like almost like arbitrary points for the celebration, because otherwise we just break down basically.
It's all up here.
It is.
We live there.
So my point is, I do appreciate you being here.
Next up, I assume that in spite of your confidence and authority in your videos, you have some shyness that is private. I also assume that you are disciplined about your knitting and hold yourself to your vision of what you wish to achieve. I believe you might be the kind of knitter who works on one project at a time, gets it done, then goes on to the next one. Parenthesis, I'm not like that. This looks like it will be fun. As in this. I hope it is.
I hope it is. I am definitely not the sort of person who works on just one project. I never put any deadlines on myself, because sadly, I know from personal experience that those do tend to break me down and ruin crafts for me. I have at least 10 different projects ongoing right now. Sometimes I forget about the projects that are going on. That's why I keep the journal, so I can remember.
There's a video about that. You can check it out somewhere.
That's why I need her.
Hello, I'm the manager.
But also I approach knitting as a creative process. So while usually I do have a vision how I want the thing to come out, like for example, when I was drafting this sweater, I did have like the general idea how I wanted to play out. But as I knit it up and as I was trying it on, I kept tweaking things here and there. And I don't know, I feel like self-discipline isn't my strong suit. It's definitely her strong suit. That's why she is kind of responsible about more. She is my producer. That's how we have agreed about the thing that I'm building here. She's my producer and she keeps me accountable.
We still should have the weekly meeting.
It's I don't know if you'll manage.
Next up, a random comment. I assume you haven't read, or even better, listened to the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. You should listen to it.
I don't think I have. I'll add it to my endless list.
I didn't know what that is either. I googled it. It's one of those RPG lit series.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I haven't read / listened to that one. I have to one other. The name escapes me. It was pretty fun. Like when you're in a mood for like something light and fun.
I'll keep that in mind.
Next topic. Several people had assumptions about you being a graver. or that you go to raves a
What?
lot. No, absolutely. Like
What?
at least 4 people had something to say that they assume that you are a raver, and they assume that you wear your knit things to raves.
Oh. Well, I'm very sorry to disappoint you guys. I have never been to a rave. I have wanted to go.
We should go.
We should absolutely go.
I have.
Oh yeah, she's the girl who goes to music
Things.
concerts and the festivals and raves and stuff like that. I would absolutely want to go. The issue is that I get very easily overstimulated by loud noise. Even with the earplugs, it can be hard on me. So I'm always been very about doing that. But I'm very curious and I would like to go. If we go, I am absolutely wearing a knit outfit that I'll make myself, and I'll probably make a video about it for you guys.
It will probably get drenched.
It's fine.
We could always go to a thing that's like also outside, like where there
That-
is a reasonable
yeah.
outside space to where the thing is happening. Hell, some of them are even like just outside, open air. That's how you
Yes.
call that. So it's quite easy to like, because yeah, of course, in front of the whole purpose of the thing is like to set you in just music, right? And
Yeah.
for that to happen, it needs to be
Yeah.
quite loud.
Right. I also have hard time expressing myself in that way.
There are things that help with that.
That is one thing that comes really, really hard for me.
Then again, you've never tried it with me.
I haven't. It would be way easier for you. That is a surprising assumption for me. I would have never expected that is a thing that people assume about me.
People in general are also assuming that you're into quite like an alternative music. And for example, this commenter assumes that you were a scene kid in high school or alternative in some other way. That's a pure speculation, but they also assume that you grew up religious, but are an atheist / environmentalist now. And your sorceress persona comes from your love of D&D.
Huh. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there.
And that was a small part of that comment.
Alternative music.
Yes.
In high school, I wouldn't say that I was... In high school, I was very much that kid who was trying to fit in, and then I was doing all sorts of stupid things to try and fit in, and none of them actually suited me. Then I kind of grew out of it. And huge part of me growing out of it was that I started making my own clothes in very early 20s. I think I was about 16, 17 when I first started, and then in my early 20s I really, really started making my own wardrobe. I think my music taste in general is alternative. I'm not good at finding music, so I don't have like elaborate playlists. I wouldn't say, no, I wasn't a scene kid. I was... bit of a poser, but not really. Bit of a...
Right, there's not that... we had a very good name for it. Ko es tagad arī aizmirsu savu turpināts līst mutē. Caca.
Oh, like a Barbie girl. But,
I don't think
no.
English has that.
No, English doesn't have that.
But from what I've seen and what you've told me, I would have called you that.
Yeah, kinda.
Like pop music and somewhat fashionable, but in the late 90s kind of.
Yeah, but also almost like weirdly following trends, or like trying to follow trends and not being good at it.
That's
so
Caca.
I grew out of that.
Evidently.
We both have been very lucky not to grow up religious. It's also not really a thing in Europe. Like, it's not fully not a thing, but like, I grew up without any religion at all. It was just not part of my life. And for most people my age that I know, it has never, like, those people who were very religious back then were huge exceptions. And the very few religious friends I have gone into religion in their 30s.
I mean, it was mildly unlawful to be religious here when our parents were growing up.
Yeah, not like mild. So basically, yeah, our grandparents and our parents grew up under oppression that did not allow any religious expression.
The Soviet one.
Look, we are not gonna praise any of that.
No. There is a merit to a lack of organized religion in a society.
That we got to grow up without the religious shame.
Yeah.
So we don't have any of that sort of religious trauma.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a thing that like I can fully see how it helps some people, and like, you know,
The
cool.
religion, not the religious trauma.
Obviously. But I feel like that's the kind of thing that you should find your own path to and
Yes.
in. But if it's enforced to you by family or whatever it is, well, then it's something that's enforced on you, and through that, like, there's no room for you to find your own way about it.
Yeah, I agree with
And that
that.
leads to trouble and bad
It does.
things.
Evidently.
Either way, speaking of, a lot of people assume that you are either pagan or Wiccan or a practicing witch. What's up with that?
Oh, I don't know. Sorceress.
I mean, you brought it on yourself.
I did bring it up to myself. The whole channel name comes from the fact that my legal name literally means sorceress in my native language. Spigana is sorceress. And hello. We are trying to film like a different kind of video, not the one that includes butts.
Hello, dog.
I wouldn't say I'm practicing anything. Yeah, I would say I'm very strongly atheist. If I was practicing anything, it would be pagan, but in that sense where you're just living with the nature cycle. I don't know how to say it without it sounding like woo-woo or
I
something.
mean, you can't.
I can't.
Because culture has taken that and turned it into woo-woo. For context, we also live in a country that has very strong pagan roots. Not to go too much into history, but we are one of those that holy wars of medieval times enforced Christianity upon our people.
Yeah.
Quite late, though, in comparison to other places in Europe, like...
We don't have a hospitable climate.
We don't. We really don't.
But even through that, we kept lots of our traditions alive.
Yes.
And there have been some very, very influential people, historians, like for ages, who have kept the traditions alive, who have really fought for them. There have been people who protected our culture from the Soviet occupation and from that destruction. There are like priceless things that we have managed to keep alive.
And even before that, from German occupations, from Swedish occupations.
We have lived centuries of occupation over occupation. Yeah.
For the matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, our nation has fought very strong to keep its roots to the tribal times. And so we still have a lot of those.
We still have lots of connection to the nature.
Yes.
Most of us have at least a relative who lives in the countryside, so we have pretty good understanding of how nature works, how your food is produced, basically how things work. So I would say I'm that, but also I'm definitely believe in scientists, vaccinate, and don't fall for dumb shit.
Yeah. Random comment. They have two. From a redhead to a redhead. I will pretend to be a redhead for a second.
Hello.
People like to gift you old supplies that sometimes rarely contains a very precious items from the previous owner who inherited it. That's one. And two, someone's grandma, now you're a witch, and so they talk to you like you have a common secret.
Grandmas definitely do that. Absolutely. That does keep happening. About the craft supplies, I kind of just feel it's not a big thing over here.
Yeah, I suppose people shift between hobbies less than maybe in other places.
And also, I kind of feel like we are not big into hoarding, and our generational trauma has made us into a pretty frugal folks. Like, I think we usually fall into the opposite, that we have hard time justifying buying things for ourselves, and like we very often think that hobbies aren't important enough to invest in them.
Yeah.
So that is not really a thing that happens to me. But I'm seeing some shift into that, so we'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of hobbies and hoarding and the likes, yarn stash. People have also assumptions about your yarn stash. For example, I imagine that you have a large and lovely stash of wool. I assume that you sleep in a nest made out of the ends of your projects like a yarn dragon.
I love that. We should start doing that. My stash mostly isn't wool because I have terribly sensitive skin. So I am heartbroken that I can't wear nice rustic yarns. I love working with them, but I just can't wear them. Sadly. I can make you things out of rustic yarn, so now I am starting to add
I'm
them.
insensitive.
Sure, Remy. So mostly my stash is actually cotton or merino things. My stash is definitely growing bigger to the point where I am starting to think that like I will be starting the next year with some sort of limitations on myself, how much yarn I am allowing myself to buy, or like in what settings. I think I have a reasonable stash. I wouldn't call it, it's definitely not small. I can definitely go into it and start like a project or 2 or 10.
But, I mean, your occupation kind of asks
It kind of
for-
calls for it, yeah.
Yeah. And it has for a while.
Yeah, I've been doing, in one way or another, knitting has been my job for a long while.
Random comment, this will be a bit longer, and but I love it, so I'm just gonna read all of it. You have really opened my mind with your wealth of knowledge. You have so much information backed by experience, and you're so generous in explaining concepts and reasons for taking certain steps, like making gauge swatches. You continuously give me courage to work on projects with multiple colors. All that said, my assumption about you is that you like spicy food. LOL.
I used not to like it, but I think I'm growing a bigger tolerance towards spicy food, and I absolutely love using a lot of spices. It's just that usually the spices that I'm using aren't hot.
Yeah, they're spicy.
Yeah, they're like herbs,
ginger.
Yeah, that sort. Well, but I don't really understand the whole culture around really hot foods. I really don't understand because to me it just feels that you don't feel any taste. There's just the burning sensation. So
you feel the pain. Pets. There are several assumptions about your pets. One of which is that you have a black cat named Freya that was sent to you via cat distribution system on a cold and foggy December morning. Black cat emoji.
Do you want to answer this one?
Right. It's half. It's a good assumption. It's a solid assumption. We don't have a black cat. We have a tuxedo cat. His name is Roger because he looks like a Roger. I don't know if we can include picture of
We will include
Roger here.
We will be paying the pet tax.
Good. He indeed was sent to me from the cat distribution system. Not in December and not in morning, but it was winter time. The bigger story is that when I moved to the house, there were already some cats kind of living in the neighborhood. Among them were smaller ones, and one of them, I kind of just hanged a bit with the cat. And then one evening, he got into a fight with a bigger cat, like a big fight. and I rushed out to check out what's going on, and he just zoomed right into my house. I closed the door. He scuttled somewhere under a table. Hasn't really left since.
He really is not leaving us.
No,
He owns the house.
he is the owner of
Obviously.
the house. Yeah, and whenever I will do something in the yard, he's always there watching if I'm doing it correctly. So far, he seems pleased. So that feels good. This one has several, so I'll just go one by one.
Okay.
Because one of them is really good.
Okay.
The pet one is that I assume you like cats and maybe have a fierce yet snuggly cat with long hair.
Okay, I am a bit more of a dog person. Not really. I don't know. It's complicated. I do like cats. The cats are mostly her pets, and we do have one very snuggly, long-haired cat.
Or crystal girly.
Now that girly would be into a witchy stuff, but
Oh,
that's
yeah.
sort of like barefoot and flowers and crystals. type
And
of thing.
setting a jar of water in the moonlight to charge it up.
Yes, she would definitely be that.
Next one is that I might guess that you can play an instrument, maybe strings, a harp.
I really wanted to learn as a kid. I've tried several instruments. I started with flute. Is it called flute?
Yeah, it's flute.
I was born with a mild jaw deformation, and playing flute would make it worse. And because I really wanted to fix it, I decided not to pursue flute. Then I moved to our folk instrument, kokle, that is like a stringed instrument. But I had really hard time keeping up with the schedule and like doing that, so I kind of dropped it. Also, my sense of rhythm is just non-existent, so I had really hard time. A few years ago, I purchased a kalimba for myself. I really enjoy how it sounds, but I have never practiced it.
You like cheese, but it makes you sneeze. That one I just made up, but let's roll with it. Also, you can make really good bread.
I adore cheese. If you want to bribe me, cheese is the way to go.
It works.
She makes really good bread. I can make really good bread, but it's nicer when she does that.
I assume you would sooner be a raven lady than a cat lady.
Oh,
and
yeah.
rogue, maybe more of a reptile person.
I can see that for you.
I also can see that for me. I feel like it's one of those pets that feels weird to keep in your house since the climate here is so unnatural for them. So it takes a lot of...
Also, we would have such hard time of keeping our cats and dogs out of the habitat.
Yeah.
So
I can see myself having like a bigger lizard or something like that. But again, I'm not a big fan of keeping things in that small of a space. If I lived in a lot of a warmer climate, then I could like let it go in the yard. I mean, still enclosed, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
But here up north, it feels unreasonably unnatural. Another person is assuming that you keep unconventional or uncommon pets.
No. I'm very basic in that regard.
On a different note, this person's assumption is that we both are more of piercing people. But I can see Rogue having tattoos or getting them first. I haven't paid close enough attention to remember if I've seen tattoos on either one of you.
I am definitely more of a tattoo person. Like, I'm finished with my piercing setup. I don't want anything else. I definitely want more tattoos. I keep looking at my arms and they seem unreasonably bare. So I have plans. I had a really amazing plan for doing like a whole sleeve for my 30th birthday. That birthday fell on 2020, so I had to cancel that and I haven't gotten back to doing that. I will eventually. I have several tattoos. You have several tattoos.
I definitely have more tattoos than I do piercings. I only have two
Yeah.
piercings.
You have.
That doesn't
you
count.
have
That's
that.
one. Wait, no, that's one. That's two.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it. And I would say that, yeah, I wouldn't count earlobes,
I mean, I
even
think
though I'm
they-
stretching
I think
them.
they count.
Okay, fine. Then I have. Then actually, I currently have more piercings than I have tattoos.
Mhm.
I need to fix that. Speaking of pet tags,
Right.
this is my older dog. She's our little demon, our little terrierator, our little I'll step on you, also known as Russell Terrier. She's 10 years old. She's my first dog. For most of my life, I was actually afraid of dogs, but then parents of one of my exes had lots of dogs, and I got used to them, and I realized that I wasn't actually afraid of them. I just couldn't understand them, and when I learned how to read dogs, I really fell in love with them. And because I love taking long walks, I realized that, like, okay, a dog would actually be a good match for me. This is Mio. She's 10 now. She's a menace.
senior.
She's a menace.
A senior menace.
She has lots of
A
experience at being
senior in
menace.
menacing.
And then Lamora, our little twink diva, is a Saluki. He's now 7 years old. I really wanted Mio to have a companion, and when I got Mio, I started getting more into like dog sports and dog people. I met several really cool people, including a really, really cool woman who had 2 Salukis. I fell in love with the breed, and they are pretty good match for me. There are things, but like they are a pretty good match for me.
Yeah, he's definitely your dog.
Oh yeah, he's definitely my dog.
And I have 2 cats. Both of them given to me by Cat Distribution System. I have Tuxedo Black cat. I think he's like 3 years now, probably. And I have another little cat named Saule, or Sun in English, because she had a spot, like a bright spot on her forehead. She's in her own little world. Among other things, this commenter assumes that Rogue has a special interest in historical blades.
Oh, hello.
Okay, here's the thing. Yes, I've been to HEMA. Several of my friends go. Sadly, the practice there happens at a time that's very hard for my schedule. Yes, I do have a practice broadsword and some equipment, but I wouldn't say that I have a special interest in them. They're cool, and I like it as a physical activity, or one that, like, like a yoga with a blade, right? It makes you connect with your body a lot to do it well.
Do you care to give like a little explanation of what's HEMA?
Oh, you can Google that.
That's
It's called
my girl.
HEMA.
It's a really cool thing. I recommend you Googling that.
Historical European Martial Arts. Another random assumption is that you took dance class or ballet growing up.
I have tried so many different hobbies, including like folk dance, ballroom dance, and some other. I don't think I've tried any other music. Oh
Historical?
no,
folk?
I haven't.
You said folk.
I said folk. As more adult, I have tried salsa. That was so not for me. That went badly. But I have never been really good at dancing. Non-existent sense of rhythm doesn't really help you at all.
You've done aerial.
Oh, I've done a lot of aerial yoga with the hammocks. That I really love. That really helps me. I think maybe some things just come from that.
Yeah. Assumption. You are a time traveler and here to share wisdom.
There will be no comments at this time. Next question.
They also assume that I, due to my super cool vibes, that they bet that I'm a blast to hang out with.
She is, absolutely. My friends were so excited when I started dating her. They were like, we want to hang out with her.
Also, congratulations on your 20k subscribers, and thank you for your incredible content.
Thank you.
Right. There have been also several assumptions about D&D, since, Sorceress has mentioned it here and there. Here's one. Rogue has never played rogues in D&D. They always play barbarians. And Sorceress only ever plays rangers.
Is it true for you?
No. No, absolutely not.
I think you've played almost anything, right?
Close to, but funnily enough, I think I have never played a barbarian. My first character was absolutely a self-insert rogue. 100% loved her. A fire ganassi, rogue, thief. Had a good time with that.
I usually go for spellcasting classes. So my main D&D character is currently Wild Magic Sorceress.
That's your first one too.
That was my first character, yeah. I'm still playing the character that was my first one. But even in video games, I usually go for like spellcasting type of thing. I have never played the ranger in D&D. I have played a ranger in World of Warcraft, and I think that was one of my favorite characters there. It was so much fun to play it. Sometimes I want to pick up World of Warcraft back up.
I mean, we tried a little bit, but...
Yeah, I just remembered how much time it takes. And there's a list of other hobbies that take up my time and that I want them to take up my time, so...
So Nels assumes that you are more organized than Rogue, but you make bigger messes around the house.
I definitely make bigger messes around the house.
Except for when I cook. Well, bake.
But it's fair to make a mess when you are baking.
And then I very quickly clean up after myself, so I'm not sure if that counts.
No, it doesn't. I am terrible at cleaning up.
That's why I'm the one doing it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You cook.
I cook.
I
cook all the time.
As long as you feed me, babes, I'll clean your messes up.
But yeah, I'm not. I'm so not organized. I know that I sometimes can't project that image. Also, I think I project that image because there is such chaos in my head. Basically, my life is usually so chaotic that I've learned to develop systems that will help me through, so I don't lose things, so I don't lose track of projects and things. And that's why I need a producer for this.
A random assumption. Actually, several people assume this. Basically, that you prefer tea over coffee.
Oh, it's sad. Currently, yes. I used to like coffee more than tea, but then basically in one day, completely randomly, it started tasting vile to me.
That can happen.
Completely out of blue, I just couldn't drink it anymore. I can now sometimes have coffee. I can have things like pumpkin spice lattes, which I really love. But
coffee.
Yeah, the coffee that's actually just a sugar bomb. But yeah, I drink tea. I like tea. It was just really weird to suddenly lose the ability to drink coffee.
Next bigger topic is that we've been together for a very long time.
It feels like that. In the best way possible.
I assume you and Rogue have been sweethearts since you were younger, at least in your teenage years, maybe even earlier. I also assume you know how to crochet, even though I don't think I've ever seen you discuss it at all.
Oh, it's funny. That video where I was asking for assumptions, I have a crochet hat on. So yes, you are correct on the crochet. We should have been sweethearts in high school. We were not. We have been together for 2 years now. Slightly more.
But
2 years and a few months. Before we started dating, we had known each other for 8 years. We were kind of in a wider friend circle. We hanged out sometimes.
We played D&D together.
Basically D&D was the thing that really brought us together.
But yeah, none of us was available at a time.
Only later we discovered that at the first meeting, basically we looked at each other and both had just the most terrifyingly instant crush on each other. But because our situations were we were both in other committed relationships, and both of us thought that the other one is way too cool to ever be interested. So I just thought that I would never have a chance with her.
I mean, same. Have you seen her?
Have
Either way, pretty much as soon as we both were in a situation where we could date without being massive assholes, we did.
we basically jumped at each other. In our minds, it was like a very slow burn thing.
Over 2 weeks. I'm exaggerating, but not that much.
Not by much. Really not by much. But there was that like half of a year where we were suddenly discovering that we might be interested in each other, and we kept questioning it because it was very awkward. Like, it was awkward to figure out if it's like just friendly bantering or is it an actual flirting. And at some point, I think all of our friends were just annoyed with us because like, can you two please just get it on and stop exposing us to this?
Well, we couldn't.
We got there eventually.
We got there as soon as we could without, being assholes, we did.
We absolutely did.
There's another assumption that we are a very humorous couple, always enjoying each other's company, and also very supportive of each other, and that you both would be great friends to be with.
She is supportive of all of my things to the point that this channel wouldn't exist without her. So when you're saying thank you for the videos, you really should be thanking her. It literally would not. Like, I've had the idea of this for about 5 years now. And I could never manage to get to it. I was never in a good enough situation. Basically, I wasn't in a situation where I could manage making things like this before we got together. And you provided all of that space for me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And of course, Sorceress is incredibly supportive of me as well. And about my other endeavors, like, I can always trust her to have my back.
They're very exciting. And you're really good at them.
And I have a strong back.
You too. And we do spend all of our time together.
As much as we can. And that is a lot.
It is a lot.
And it's amazing, and I love it. Yes. And
we have been very fortunate to build our lives in a way that, like, we can spend almost the entirety of our days together.
There are a lot of assumptions regarding either what have you done previously or what are you doing right now. One is that I always thought you were the fun art teacher at the local school, and some of the children made you their adopted mom because they liked you a lot.
I think I would make a good teacher.
You would.
I wish they were paid more.
Yeah, that's very just wrong.
It is wrong. That is one of the things that's entirely wrong with our society.
But yeah, a lot of people are assuming that you're a teacher or a social worker.
I have never done anything like that. For entirety of my adult life, I have been self-employed. For most of that time, I've actually been a freelance photographer. I did wedding photography for like 11 or 12 years. I've also had other endeavors. I've written book reviews, both in like personal blog, but also for magazines. I've had a little radio show on the national radio. It was a little thing.
On the national radio?
We are a small country.
The national radio?
I had a radio show about books on the national radio, yes. I've done other things. Honestly, by now I keep forgetting the things that I have done. I've had a knitting business before, but I wasn't teaching or doing patterns. I was selling physical objects. I really, really liked doing that. The hardest part was getting good information from clients about the sizes. And also I realized that it's not really sustainable. So I wanted to move forwards, but the knitting business was the first one where I really, really felt that like this is definitely what I want to do. And that's the one where I thought that like I need to figure out a way how to make this sustainable. So basically this channel and my future plans for like teaching and patterns and maybe some other things, we'll see how this develops. Kinda is a new iteration for that.
It's on you to help make it happen. I think you're doing great. I'm so proud of you, babes.
Oh,
There are people that assume that you came out of the womb knitting.
I mean, it wasn't too far off. My grandmother was crafts teacher at my school, so she taught kids how to knit, crochet, and so I kept seeing her teaching it to older kids, and I thought that it's really cool. Also, she kept knitting things for me and my sibling. So basically, when I was 5 years old, I just badgered my grandma to teach me knitting until she couldn't say no.
I've seen pictures.
Like this picture.
Badgering is the right word.
People have always had hard time saying no to me.
It's very hard.
I'm kind of proud about that. I'm not gonna lie about that. And I picked up the knitting. Basically, my grandma didn't want to teach me because she thought that it will be too hard for me. She kind of felt that I'm maybe too small for that. But also, she was just so tired of teaching kids in the school. And she had such hard time with getting them liking crafts or getting them learning that she didn't think that like, oh, this 5-year-old will now like do anything with it.
But only she knew.
Oh, she had no clue. Sometimes I wish I could tell her now.
Yeah.
She has been dead for like 15 years now, so she never saw any of that like larger side from my adulthood. But yeah, basically, once I started knitting, I literally never stopped.
Literally.
Quite literally. Like I remember that we would sometimes have babysitters if me or my sibling were ill and we had to stay at home. Someone would come in like to look after us. I would be drawing like little knitting charts and asking my babysitters, what do you think of this? And then I was very upset when they couldn't read them. So basically that's where I came from. Do you want to tell what you do?
Oh.
What is your job? How come we can spend all our days together so much?
I do data. I'm in the general IT area. I'm a data analyst, scientist, manager person. And I luckily can mostly work remotely.
But also she has a really fun background in biology.
Yeah, I have master's in biology. I worked at the science lab. I have at least one article out, but it's fine. I worked at the botanical garden. I love plants. My major was in plant genetics.
She's really cool.
And that's where I discovered that I actually really like working with data, while other students just want to do either practical things or, hated working and dealing with the data, even though if you're a scientist, like 90% of the things that you do are just dealing with the data. I love that. So I managed to make myself a career out of that. And that's gone pretty well.
It's going pretty well. It's pretty exciting.
Either way, speaking of coming out of the womb, a lot of people assume that you are considerably younger than you are, like a student in your early 20s.
I keep getting that a lot. I think that especially when I don't have makeup on, I read way younger. But also, my dressing style kind of signals to most people younger. Piercings tend to signal younger. But also, just wait until you hear that she is actually 32. You absolutely have a baby face. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised that people who have noticed my age by now would still assume that you are way younger and would assume that we have a big age gap.
We don't.
We have a very reasonable age gap.
Someone is assuming that you are a night owl while Rogue is a morning person.
Oh, yeah. So much, yes.
Yeah.
Especially when we started dating, I think that was not an issue, but that was a thing that we needed to work around. Also, I tend to have trouble sleeping. It has been way less troublesome since we've been dating. Obvious reasons. We even have the thing that at house, she has the morning shift, I have the evening shift. I have way easier time working in the afternoons or evenings. Like my brain is most active at that time.
And I'm just shutting down.
Yeah, and meanwhile, my brain is just not awake in the morning. I don't understand things. I can't figure out things. It feels like I'm trudging through a fog. And then in the afternoon, I can suddenly do things without any issues. Mm-hmm. So for me, it has always been easier to work late in the night and then sleep late in the morning. Because, you know, in the evening, you have the same amount of hours as you have in the morning.
Another topic. A lot of people are assuming that you are an older sister.
I
That
am.
you have the vibe.
I have a younger sibling. I think I very much have the older sister vibe because of how we grew up and the situation that we grew up. I'm not sure that it's appropriate to go into that. But yeah, I've very much always been the older, more reliable sister who has to have her shit together. Spoiler alert. I don't.
On a different topic, several people are assuming that you are either a vegetarian or a vegan.
Weirdly, I've been getting that assumption for my whole life. Even back when it was like super popular. And I'm not entirely sure what gives that impression. I'm not. But then again, on the flip side, half of our diet is plant-based, roughly. We definitely don't eat meat every day. I think that's a good balance. I definitely like having meat occasionally. I'm not entirely sure why people keep assuming that about me.
On a bit of a different note, there are also a lot of assumptions about your location, where you're from,
Right.
where you live. A lot of people are assuming that you're either Icelandic or at least Nordic.
We're not entirely Nordic. We live in Baltic states. We're from Latvia. I've seen that confusion in my comments quite a lot. The wildest confusion about that has been that I'm Amish, which is a whole other topic. That is kind of the reason why in the beginning I mildly avoided mentioning where I'm from. And it sadly has to do mostly with the algorithm. When you come from very, very small countries, but especially if your native language is a very small language, so Latvian language has 1.6 million native speakers. That's a very small language. Algorithms are interest-based, and so they treat everyone who speaks that language as one common interest. If algorithm caught the whiff of me being Latvian, it would start pushing out my content to all Latvians, regardless of their actual interests. I have some experience in making content for social media, and that is a thing that will very easily tank you, that like you will get in that jail. But also I just did not want to deal with comments about my accent, because Latvians really, really don't like Latvian accent. It's a thing, but also I've realized that it's kind of a common thing for every European country, that most European countries don't like their own accent.
Yeah.
It was very visible at the point where TikTok was banned for a few days in USA, and where we suddenly started seeing more European content. Yeah, lots of people were commenting about that, how we hate hearing our own accents. So it has been kind of wild for me to hear how many people actually like my accent.
Oh, they do.
Because I never thought that that would be a thing that people like about me. Like, absolutely never.
You're
That's
throwing
wild.
shade.
Well, he's a very shady boy.
Yes. On topic of general location, a lot of people are assuming that we live in the countryside. But there is one, I would say, pretty spot on assumption from someone that asked their best friend after watching a couple of videos to assume what's up with us.
Oh, that's nice.
And they say that we live somewhere remote enough to feel like it's in the middle of nowhere, but actually it's only mildly inconvenient for you to get to town, and you get to enjoy all of the benefits of both places.
Oh, we absolutely do. We absolutely have the best of both things. We do live in the middle of nowhere. We live in the middle of fields. We have a pretty big yard, like fairly big yard. We don't have any immediate neighbors. We don't usually see any humans in our like vicinity. We see lots of animals, but then our nearest bigger city is only 20-minute drive away from us.
20 to half an hour.
Yeah, and our capital city is about an hour drive from us. And to make things even better for us, we also, when we need, have an option of staying in the city, so we can also enjoy like an occasional bar crawl, or like you going to gigs or stuff like that.
Yeah, or meeting friends, because
Yeah, being
still-
social.
you still need car to access.
Yeah, you can't access us with like public transport. So yeah,
Exactly.
we have been very, very fortunate in that setup. But I'm also mildly worried that this setup kind of gives the impression of us being very rich, which we are definitely not. Remember that like we live in a small country. In different countries, the housing situation is very different. And where we live, getting a very remote country house is way cheaper than getting an apartment in the city.
Yeah.
It's also cheaper to run it, not run it to...
Yeah, to maintain it.
Yeah.
The mortgage is on par with a smallish flat in a reasonable but not prime spot in the capital.
Yeah. So yeah, while we are very fortunate to have it, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like a huge luxury, and it's a thing that we have very specifically worked towards, where we have like built up our work lives so we can afford to live that way.
Also I was house hunting for quite some time, and this one just really checked all of the boxes. I got quite lucky with the location, the price, the size.
Right, and it's not a big house
No,
either. It's a small house.
It's a reasonably large property with quite a small house.
Yeah. Which is absolutely perfect for us. And by the way, when she got the house, we weren't dating yet.
No.
So
You
I
came to
moved
live
in.
with me.
I did. Best decision of my life.
Right. Since the cat is out of the bag of, we live in the countryside, there are people that assume several things about our garden. That we have one.
Like the same way as knitting calms me down, yard work calms her down.
Absolutely. I assume that you have an amazing garden. I've never seen your garden, but I just assume at least one of you has a green thumb and can make some amazing herbs or produce.
We are getting there.
We are.
Our goal is never to be like off-grid or just live off the produce that we make ourselves. I think we both still want to have our careers, but also have the ability to work on the house.
Yeah.
Because we have been living in that house for only a few years, the garden is still very much an ongoing project. We've been slowly chipping away, but to build up a life like that, that's a really long project. It doesn't happen in one summer.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of resources, not only financial, but a lot of time, effort, work,
energy. But we are definitely getting there. And
you have a lovely herb box.
I have.
Next to the front
I
door.
love cooking with fresh herbs, so I made that. You have the green thumb. I think the sweetest story about our garden is that you have the garlic that your grandma gave you. Her grandma is sadly not with us anymore, but so we keep replanting.
From the same garlic, we keep
replanting the same garlic from our harvest, so we keep perpetuating the same garlic that her grandma gave us.
And they're really good.
They're amazing.
I could not use a store-bought garlic ever.
We are also not capable of eating store-bought tomatoes.
Oh yeah, no.
Because we grow our own, and then they just don't taste correct.
Assumption. You dry the dishes and Rogue washes them. Rogue has the kind of soulful mask energy that feels aligned with washing up, and I assume you have made and or spent thinking about the best fabric to make tea towels out of.
Oh, I absolutely have. We usually buy our tea towels from like local artisans when we find something like really cool in like local fairs or something.
Yeah, we have a lot of like, I guess what Americans would call farmer markets.
Yeah,
here,
I guess.
Except here they're not as much farmers, as more like
usually,
produce makers.
Yeah,
sometimes
like
even
crafters or like, yeah, it's a very varied bunch. Thankfully, we have a washing machine, so we don't have to do washing dishes anymore.
However, I am the one that deals with the washing machine. So
yes,
there's that.
The cleaning is on her, and I'm very thankful about that.
The laundry is on her though, because that's fabric.
Yeah,
See?
I can deal with fiber.
Someone assumes that you are regularly at risk of getting a sunburn from a strong table lamp. Sincerely, a ginger who burns far too easily.
Yeah, SPF 50 daily, all of the time. I never leave the house without it, even in the winter.
Someone else assumes that you have attempted to make your own butter.
I think I have.
Of course you would. What
I am-
haven't you attempted?
I am the sort of person who will try all sorts of traditional crafts at least once. Sure, my main interest is in fiber, so if it involves some sort of thread and maybe a needle, I have very likely tried that craft. But yeah, I also like making food, so I have experimented with lots of. Again, we are very lucky to live in a culture that has like very deep connections with like historical crafts and very traditional crafts. So even as kids from school, you could very easily go to like day trips and try out things like making butter or baking like very traditional bread.
Every summer, you go to a music festival called Rainbow or something like that.
I mean, close enough. Pride?
Right. Well, yeah.
I don't go to festivals. She does a lot, but not to the rainbowy ones, but to the very black ones. Black and spiky.
Black and spiky. I mean, all of the festivals that I go to have names in the language that they happen at. I am known to frequent lightning strikes, suffering, and sword and...
Oh, that doesn't translate.
No.
It's such an old word.
Plow? Sword and plow.
Yeah.
Plow.
Yeah. There. That's her.
You can guess what those are about in the comments below. And if you frequent them, I'll see you next summer. Someone assumes that you prefer salty and savory snacks over sweet treats.
That is so spot on. What?
Someone else assumes that Rogue wants to build big things, like furniture, but isn't sure how to start, as it would create a lot of mess and they need their space to be neat in order to think properly. Also, they assume that Sorceress had a bead phase that ended in frustration, accidentally knocking the container and having beads roll everywhere. But pretty beadwork is calling again, and this time things will be different.
You are so spot on about the beadwork, and this comment was left before the Halloween video came out. So if you want to see how spot on you are, you can go watch that Halloween crafts video where I did some beadwork. I absolutely love it. Yes, I have knocked them all over and given up on them.
I mean, they're just inevitable
I
to
think
happen,
that's just
no?
part of that craft.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that craft without doing the knockovers. Just in the rules.
And meanwhile, I would love to do more carpentry, and I have done a bit, but it's less about making a mess. Even though you're right, I like to keep my workstations tidy. It's less about mess, more about it asks for a lot of space that I currently don't have.
A very dedicated and specific space.
Yeah, but I'm getting there. So be ready to have a lot more chairs.
Nice.
Assumption: you take great care of your hair, you have at least 5 steps and wash it daily. And this is mainly because your hair is gorgeous. I love it.
Thank you. I don't have the energy or time, or I don't even know what to do that. My hair routine is pretty simple. I wash it, then I put in some maybe curly mousse and braid my hair, and I normally wear my hair braided or like in a bun. Washing your hair daily isn't really healthy. I don't do that. I wish I had more energy to do like elaborate curly girl methods. I think my hair would look great with it. I just don't have it in me.
Hey,
But
whatever
thank
you're
you.
doing, it works.
Well, I'm glad.
I assume you are someone who would always help a friend. And I assume Rogue is really good with animals.
You are really good. Like, she took to my dogs just instantly. She understands them. They understand her.
There's one of them right
There
here.
is one of them huddled behind Rogue right now. She's my Disney princess in the mornings when she wakes up. All of the animals just crawl on her and don't let her get out of the bed.
Including you.
I am one of the creatures, that is true.
I assume that if you were lost in the middle of nowhere, you would easily be able to survive. I'm not sure why, but you would become the queen of the wilds and take a wolf back because you knitted them socks or something.
That would be so amazing. I love that imagery. Thank you. That's it. That is an amazing assumption. I love it. I have some survival skills. You have way more survival skills than I do. But I am absolutely the sort of person who sees a wolf, goes, "Ooh, a puppy! I'll knit you socks."
I mean, they are comfy. I think that's largely it. There were a bunch more, but we also don't have all of the time in the world, sadly. And hey, maybe we can repeat this sometime.
Well, there is always the next milestone, and you can meanwhile come up with like new assumptions. I will definitely get back to my regularly scheduled pattern reviews, yarn reviews, knitting tutorials, and things. And we'll have more of her on the channel. You keep asking for her. It's very nice to see you liking her.
I'm flattered, honestly. Thank you. And hey, if you want to support her, making videos like these and more,
I have a Buy Me Coffee account. I have promised myself that all of my tutorials will always be free, but we live in this world, so it takes resources to make them. So for the price of just one yarn, you can support me making new tutorials for you.
better do it. You go.
Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.